Friends, starting this Saturday through to the next few weeks, I will explain to you what blockchain and its technology is or what it can do for us through some simple storytelling. I seek your ear and also your attention. This is no rocket technology and the concept is actually very simple. I'll use Twitter and some recent happenings as a backdrop to my story. I wonder sometimes if Twitter is a Pied Piper that is busy playing a pipe. As a matter of fact, there are many Pied Pipers playing many pipes, and in the melee, we are losing human bonds to these digital wedges, even as one of these wedges plays no more than the role of a messenger. Our minds are the casualties in the form of slices, and this produces a convoluted, asymmetric audience left without and bereft of its own thinking abilities, let aside a purpose. If a Pied Piper emerges out of this confusion, aligns his music with the governor's desires, it's applauded. But if he plays a different tune and the rats start running in the opposite direction, it makes the governor go out looking for the Pied Piper. In the age of Twitter, where the piper is also only one of the rats, it becomes a task akin to finding a needle in the haystack, if not altogether impossible to identify the rat and then run a legal process to book him. Meanwhile, it leaves the governor fuming and consulting his ministers to uproot the bathtub and throw it out of the bath water. That tub chastised and cleaned many and helped popularize the governor's message equally, but by throwing it out, he would not only shoot the hook, rather also shoot the line and the sinker with it. Now, without the hook, the line and the sinker fishing for fresh rats would be impossible, if not difficult, opines the minister. Meanwhile, all other important matters of governance and creation of fresh toolkits to address the pandemic and other problems in the country is lost in a rather frivolous controversy, thus leading the governance and the governor to suffer and rant unabashedly. Many pipers playing many narratives that are flying thick and fast around us leave us no escape other than to become a part of the circus, riding the carousel, and it stops momentarily, and only then the folks can get off. They all get off together and go mulling around the rest of the circus. There are hundreds of categories of such pipers. Pipers playing land records, playing urban development, playing health or inoculations or education or banking, taxation, business, railways, aviation, construction of housing, roads, bridges, power stations, farmland produce or processing of supply chains carrying food, stuff or even need gaps in any of these areas. You name it, it will be there. And they are all based on the demographics that either demand or supply anything under the sun. There are need gaps that exist everywhere and with everyone and in each ecosystem, society, economy and political system. It is the Pied Piper or pipers in the quandary or cesspool that creates the problem. The mayor is concerned with the rats and the Pied Piper is concerned with his money. After appointing the Pied Piper, the mayor feels relieved, but his financial advisors complicate the rewarding mechanism, and the Pied Piper now sings a different tune. In this analogy, the mayor may be a government, the Pied Piper is the influencer, and the rats are obviously us, the population, invited to a circus to ride the carousel. Now what if the carousel had to be removed and only a Ferris wheel were to remain? Well, then it would enable each person to get off or on only when their car reaches the bottom, leaving all the others in a queue behind on either side of the Ferris wheel. That is the blockchain. Now we need to weave a grid and tapestries of those blockchains in each area of governance and bring exactitude in addressing those concerns, the need gaps and issues, rather than worry about a piper playing a tune that is out of sync with what the governor wants to hear or wants to implement. It's time the mayor thought of creating blockchains pertaining to demographics, pertaining to lands cultivable and fallow, criminal records, traffic violations, health records, asset ownerships, passport records, income and economic data, production, agricultural records and so on. Anything can come on. The data is all there. It is currently riding a carousel where each time the carousel stops, some of it gets off, the other remains riding, and that leads to the asymmetry or the confusion vis-a-vis the exactitude that I spoke about. Each person getting off the carousel sets off a Chinese whisper, and the experience remains unmapped. Worse, there is no date of timestamp. So everything is convoluted and is made to look as if it happened this morning. A carousel versus a Ferris wheel, where the experience of each person climbing or getting off the wheel is a chronological sequence and can be easily recorded and mapped. While that is a loose analogy, a blockchain is like a trusted network of women in a kitty that bring forth their monies for all to see, and everyone takes a fair share when her turn comes or arrives. What if we had a blockchain that mapped fractional land holdings and farmers and gave a block of 10 farmers or 10 nodes an opportunity to own a tractor at a fractional cost that each would contribute towards its repayment? What if the tractor was owned not even by those 10 farmers but by a third party, and the 10 farmers had access to that tractor like an Uber? So no one owned one, but each one had one when required. It would create demand for a loan and one additional tractor manufactured and one family provided assistance or sustenance. If the government is the architect, it can choose to disrupt development, but it's best that it not only helps build, rather encourages the building of the blockchains, as that is the only solution to the bookkeeping and resolving the huge issues of the pendency of over 43 million cases languishing in the courts of law. These have grown 19% in just the last 1 year. Since judgments are pronounced based on the facts produced and read with earlier judgments given in such cases, it still leaves the judge to his discretion and uses jurisprudence in the same cauldron of hot water that can soften a potato or harden an egg. If a ledger can be maintained to record the arrival of the cases and their resolution in a date and time specified manner or stamped manner, and if each case can be treated as a block, imagine how simple knowledge management of similar blocks will become using big data and machine learning principles or algorithms. Imagine resolution based on earlier records granted in seconds. This will deburden the legal system that poses a big threat to FDI sitting on the borders of the country. FDI that looks at the judiciary wondering if its interests will be met with prompt justice and not as per the Old Testament that may take years interpreting only because it's written in a different language. The governor may even create a blockchain of all the Pied Pipers, rats and their shenanigans to build an intuitive experience with a little help from artificial intelligence to know who would fly off the handle next and how he could be silenced, though blockchains too have to worry about their own rats, the technical rat, the remote access trojans. To sum up, let's connect the dots. Blockchain is here to stay and is the only ledger that shall bring integrity, alacrity, agility, transparency, accountability into public governance. Blockchain is here to stay, like I said, and so are we to bring you many more nodes and nodes on this blockchain.
What is a blockchain? How does it work? When many people first learn about cryptocurrencies, they also discover something called the blockchain. Then they wonder how it works. Blockchains are a series of transactions that are grouped into blocks. These blocks are presently linked together through encryption, which stores the data securely and prevents someone from changing the history. This chain of blocks forms a public transaction ledger, which can be private or public blockchains. In a public blockchain, anyone can review all the transactions publicly, providing a complete history of all the transactions to anyone interested. This public ledger or database is hosted by many individuals and businesses worldwide, making it distributed and, in some cases, decentralized. Many may be familiar with the concept of cloud computing, which means that the data and computing power exists in many redundant locations around the world at the same time. A significant advantage is that no single person or entity owns a public blockchain. Because it's public, this distributed ledger forms an international network that enables people to record transactions to the database for all types of things. Like the internet before it, this new network unlocks many new and exciting business models that send digital value anywhere in the world near instantly. In Bitcoin, its blockchain records how much Bitcoin each wallet holds and creates a permanent history each time a Bitcoin moves from one wallet to another. This distributed ledger enables transactions to occur globally without the help of a third-party financial institution.
Friends, that is the first of a series of stories that I'll come up with in my bid to explain blockchain to you. I will be there the next Saturday with another episode on blockchain that I believe will be interesting to you. Until then, thank you, namaskar and dhanyavad.